There's our flat at Laguna Beach. This is the condo on Laguna Beach. There's Nicola.
Yeah, I started getting discomfort in my tummy pelvic area, and I went to my gynecologist quite a few times just to find out what was going on. They thought that perhaps it was the loop. Eventually it got to the point, this is after a year, 2 years, it got to the point that it was really giving me a lot of discomfort. So I'd also been passing a little bit of blood as well, which I didn't really take any notice of, but when I went to go and see the doctor, he said that he suggested that I went to a gastroenterologist, and I did that, and then the gastroenterologist said that I was too healthy and fit and everything else to worry, but that I should have a colonoscopy just in case. So I did that the next day, and then Mike Elliott was called in, who's a colorectal surgeon, and he took a look, and the next thing I know, I was being booked into hospital to have part of my colon removed. They found that it was a tumour, that it was cancerous. They didn't know how far into the body that it had gone, so it was all panicky, nightmare-y stuff. And I had the operation where they took about a foot of colon, and it had gone to one lymph node, so they suggested that I had chemotherapy, which struck a chord straight away in my heart, having to take something that's so toxic. But it was the best line of action, that they were really adamant that I did this course of chemotherapy. So that was, I had the operation in December, got out just before Christmas, and had a couple of weeks to get better, which I got better really quickly from that first operation, and started the chemotherapy course in January, end of January. I had the first, there were 3 treatments of 5FU, so you have 1, 2, 3 treatments on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then 21 days, and then you have the next 1, 2, 3 treatments. So I started my course, and I thought, right, this is what I've got to do, and I'm doing it for me and for my children and my husband and family, and I'm going to do this thing to the best of my ability. So I had the first one, and I felt quite nauseous, and I thought, well, this is probably what you feel when you have chemotherapy. Then I went to go and have the second injection, and I got really quite nauseous, and I started developing a temperature. And when my mother took me again for the next injection, she said, look, Nicola has had a lot of nausea, and she has got a temperature. Are you sure that this is okay? So they said, yeah, you can go ahead and have the 3rd injection, which I did. Over the weekend I started getting really, really, really sick, and then by the Monday I was hospitalised, and I got just really hectic nausea and sort of dehydration, and they put me on a drip, and they said that I had an allergic reaction to the 5FU, but they couldn't understand why I was as sick as I was. To me, I was really very, very sick. To them, I was just having a reaction. Fortunately, my surgeon, Mike Elliott, came to see me, and he prescribed some really strong anti-nausea, which helped me a little bit. And then I was discharged on the Friday, so I had a week there in the Constantiaberg. I didn't feel that I got the greatest of treatment there. I was very disappointed and basically left for hours on my own. Lip burns had developed on my lips, and the whole gastrointestinal tract was blistered and burnt the whole way down, so you can imagine it was really, really, really awful. As I say, I came out on the Friday, but just feeling that I was going to die if I was left in the Constantiaberg hospital any longer, and then I just had to get home and try and get some nourishment in me, because they were providing me with great big plates of food, beef bourguignon and things like that, which, I mean, Hungarian goulash, which you're not going to eat when you're that sick. And I longed for fresh juices and, you know, just good things. Anyway, I went home and I deteriorated more and more. They couldn't understand why, but nobody actually phoned me to check on me. Again, my surgeon came along, and Mike Elliott, and he checked on me at home. But there was just very little that we could do. We just had to really sit it out. By the end of 10 days, I went yellow, and then everybody went, "Oh, she's got hepatitis." So I went back into the Kingsbury Hospital again, and had further tests and checks and things. Eventually, I was let out of there, and it took me probably till about April, at Easter time, before I was really walking and back on my feet. The family were fantastic. They just were all around me, and they really helped me, and the kids would just be under my arms, and we watched telly, and so it was okay. And then I got really bad pains where my drain had been, and it was constantly, every day at a certain time, I'd get really excruciating pains, which I wouldn't really be honest with the doctor about, because I was so terrified of going back into hospital again that I covered it up a bit. But eventually it got to the point where I went to see Mike Elliott, and he just said, "That's it, you can't actually go on in this kind of pain any longer. It looks like you've got quite bad adhesions. We're going to have to go in and cut them." So he gave me 2 hours to go home, get packed, and get back into the hospital. So the whole nightmare was starting all over again with the whole hospital thing. It was the cut again on the same scar from up in my tummy down, all the way down to the pelvic area. So it was a good long cut that had to be reopened. My gynecologist, Alan Alperstein, thank God, he talked me into having a hysterectomy, which I was very opposed to. I was very, very against. I just said that there was no reason to have a hysterectomy when I had I had a healthy uterus. But he begged and he pleaded, and he said he didn't know any reason why I had to have it done. I just had to. He just felt that it was the right thing to do. So eventually, right outside the theatre, I said, "Okay," and I signed for the hysterectomy. And thank God I did. He calls me a miracle, which it was, because they found more cancer inside the uterus, just starting, just a tiny little speck, but nobody would have picked it up until a lot later. So that was fantastic that they found that, and they got that out. And then they also found another site of cancer in the pelvic area, so they removed that as well. So they did the operation not knowing that they were going in to find any cancer, because none of my tests showed that there was any cancer activity in my body. So it was a big fright for all of us. So that was November 98. The first one was December 97. This was November 98. Then they just said, "Look, you're going to have to go on another course of chemotherapy." So after the last scare, it was really not the place that I wanted to be. But they said there was another new treatment out called Tomudex, that I wouldn't have any side effects. And the last year, with the hepatitis and the chemo allergy, I lost every single hair on my head, and there was a lot of nausea and all that kind of thing. But anyway, so again, I didn't know what else to do. So I went for the chemotherapy, and I had about 8 months. The second lot of chemo that finished in September, and then we, as a family, we all went skiing, and I just breathed in that fresh, good mountain air, and really felt that I was getting better and getting my health back together, and I was taking a lot of barley green, which is absolutely brilliant stuff, lots of vitamins and all sorts. When we came back in the January, I had more CEA tests, which is the tumour marker test, and they started to go up again, which I refused to believe. I just felt that I couldn't go through all this again. And so they left me for a couple of weeks, and then in that time I really got a hold of myself, and I thought, well, I'm doing the barley green and I'm doing some vitamins, but this time I really got stuck in. So I started juicing and shark cartilage and all the things that are the right thing to do for preventative care. Unfortunately, it wasn't. I didn't get there into that frame of mind quick enough, and the blood results did go up again. So they saw that there was scar tissue at the top of the vagina, which was terrifying. I mean, I'd already had 2 operations, and now they're starting to tell me that the scar tissue at the top of the vagina, where I'd had the hysterectomy, that the cancer might be there now. So, anyway, I went for a scan and more tumour marker tests and a biopsy. And the biopsy showed that, because I didn't want to have the biopsy, once you cut and you have it frees cancer cells, or it disturbs the tissue or whatever it does. So I really tried not to go that way, but it ended up being that the only way to go without, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that there is cancer there. So that was it, and they did find that there was cancer. So now I had to decide what I wanted to do. Did I want to go for a 3rd operation? And I didn't have much option. So my surgeon, Mike Elliott, and Cara Sims, my doctor, who have been with me throughout this whole ordeal, and they've been really, really fantastic. They came and they sat with me for a couple of hours, and they said, look, this is what it's going to entail, this is what we're going to have to take, you're going to have to go through the whole, we're going to have to cut you again for the 3rd time on the same scar. So anyway, they were very gentle and they were very good to me, and I said okay, I'd go for it. But that after I'd had this operation, it was time for me to now sing my own song, and that I was going to do everything I possibly could my own way. I couldn't do any more chemotherapy because there was no other chemotherapy they could have given me anyway, but I couldn't go through that, not for a 3rd time. I had to find another way, and I had to find another way that other people can go for that are in the same situation as me, or before they even get to the position that I've been in, where I've already had 2 operations and now I'm having to do a 3rd. So it was really, really important to me that I really found out about what my choices and my options really were. And I've been speaking to the Oasis Hospital. It's called the Oasis of Hope Hospital in Tijuana in Mexico. And I thought, right, I'm going to find out everything I possibly can, and I had fantastic friends, Charmaine and Bev, who found out everything they could for me on this hospital. And I went in with God, who held me all the way through this operation, which, thank the Lord, he was there, because it was a 12-hour operation, and once again I was fed through my neck and with the tubes up my nose, and catheterized, the usual story, for 2 weeks. It was like trying to get out of a pot of honey with lead boots on. It was a real struggle, this operation, to to get my energy back and to get that spirit of life back. But God helped me, and He was there in so many ways. I was so incredibly blessed. And I just know that my healing, I came out of hospital and it was really hard, because now they've taken the top of my vagina, not all of it, and the pelvic floor, and loops of the intestine as they came down, and part of the rectum, and I'm not quite sure what else they took, but they really cleared me out basically. And so I had a lot of tummy troubles and things, trying to get my system back into some kind of order. I had diarrhea so badly that it would just shoot, very violent, and it was just appalling. Anyway, I started gradually to get a little bit more energy, and my sights were on going to the Oasis of Hope Hospital, and I've just got the most incredible friends, incredible friends. Thank you, and they were just there for me, and they helped me make it possible to find the wherewithal to get to this hospital and to have this treatment. So I went to the Oasis of Hope Hospital, and all I can say is I've got a great big smile on my dial, because it was the most fantastic experience. My body feels just what it should be. I promised myself that after all these operations, this chemotherapy and this third operation, I put my hands on my tummy and I said, right, that's it. Never again will I do anything to hurt you, and I will only honour this body of mine. And that's what I've been doing. I've been doing carrot juice and green juice, which is beet top leaves, and they put all kinds of things in this green juice. It's amazing stuff. All the enzymes, orange juice, and you have these incredibly freshly made salads of grated carrot and beetroot and potatoes, all kinds of potatoes and more potatoes. You're allowed to have some bread. There's masses of fruit, so there's beautiful melon, watermelon, mangoes, pineapple. No, I don't know whether I did see strawberries, but there's a huge mass of kiwi fruits and bananas and pears and apples and all sorts of things. And the whole thing is knowledge. You go from one meeting or activity to another. There's fantastic prayer groups where you can sit and you can pray with people who are in the same situation as you, and you just are all there and you're all doing it together. You're all talking about cancer every day, what cancer here or what cancer there, and it's a hope. It's just an incredible place of hope where you can just be free and yourself, and all of you are there together in the same boat, honouring your body, doing what's really right for it, getting your drips of potassium and whatever it is, and your chelation, which is all your, it helps to detoxify you, and your coffee enemas, which I really dreaded, were actually quite good, because you get that incredible smell, aroma of coffee. And I mean, okay, you don't drink it, but I don't know, in a deprived kind of ways, it's quite nice. And nice. Oh. And you have shark enemas twice a day, but you get to talk to all these people, and they sing fantastic songs, and we had somebody there who was a gospel singer that was just such a treat. And when people pray, they really pray. They put their hands in the air and they pray to God. It's so beautiful. It's so exquisite. And so everything is renewed. Faith, hope, belief. It's just all there. And yes, there were hard times. 3 people died while we were there. A lot of people get to the Oasis clinic as a last resort. They've got cancer all over, and the doctors have literally only given them weeks to go. And the Oasis of Hope, even though they might only have a couple of weeks left. The staff are like angels. They love you. They kiss you. The doctors hold your hand and they hug you. The lateral, which is one of the reasons that I went there, it's banned in the States. That's why you go to Tijuana in Mexico. It helps also as a pain reliever. So these people aren't all put on huge doses of morphine, and mind you can have anything that you want there, but they die with dignity. That's what I can say. They die with dignity, with prayer and with blessings and with compassion and with love everywhere. So really, it was just the most fantastic experience. And I'm going to get better. Better and better and better and better and better and better and better. That's me.
Can you do that?
Well, I can't, because you go all the way down to... It goes there and it goes further down too, but I'm not going to show you further down. My fat little Tommy.
Sorry? Okay, thanks.
What are you doing? Hey?
And I'm rolling.
Yeah. So,
Sorry, I'm not. Okay, go.
While you're at the clinic, Francisco Contreras comes round to Dr. San Francisco.
And rolling.
While you're staying at the clinic, Dr. Francisco Contreras, who heads up this hospital, he comes to see you personally a couple of times, and he sat on the bed and he just went through the entire case history with me, which was fantastic. And I'd forgotten to mention about when I had the second operation, that 2 weeks later my whole body filled up with fluid, and the lungs and the pelvic area, and it was just a hectic time there as well. And I'd forgotten to tell him about that, and he picked it up and he said, but what happened about this, and the ascites, I think it's called. And they really do care. I mean, they really, really do. They take each and every case very seriously, and they go right into your whole case history and find out what is the best thing for you. Ernesto Contreras is his father, who founded this whole lateral and, this whole hospital, the Oasis of Hope Hospital. And he still works every day, and he's 85 years old, and he looks through a microscope at your blood, and he looks to see, how your immunity is doing, how your white blood cells are doing, etc. But he and Francisco Contreras both, and the doctors that were there, Dr. Cesenia and Dr. Lagos, Dr. Mario Soto, they all said that they had never ever seen a case like mine in all their years of working there, because with the cancer that was in my body, it came back to the second time in a different place. So it was colon cancer, and then it came back in the uterus and the pelvis, but it was the same cancer. And then it came back a third time at the top of the vagina. So they'd never seen cancer behave like that. Normally what happens is that you get secondaries, so you metastasize, and the cancer goes to your liver, which is normal for colon cancer, or to the lung. So they just said that cancers are just behaving in totally different ways today. That the way that they used to work is just entirely different. I think it's just from the diets and from the amount of toxins that we have in our body and all kinds of things. And they're just finding that a lot of cancers are behaving differently. And mine is totally unique. But it's gone now, so that's unique too.